I'm Johnny D'Agostini from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. The U.S. Forest Service is closing all California national forests through September 17th. Federal officials say it's the best choice for public safety and a way to limit the potential risk of any new wildfires. They add it was a difficult decision, especially with the upcoming Labor Day holiday weekend. Officials say anyone caught illegally entering a national forest could face steep fines. An investigation continues after Anaheim police shot and killed a murder suspect. Anaheim Police Sergeant Shane Carringer explains what happened when officers went into a house to help a gunshot victim.
They were confronted with a suspect that we believe to be armed, and an officer-involved shooting occurred.
Just before noon Tuesday, police received a call from a person who said they'd been shot. When officers arrived in the area, they found a person dead inside a home before the suspect approached them with a gun. At least one officer opened fire, and the suspect was later pronounced dead by a SWAT team that was called in for backup. Joe Rogan is revealing he has coronavirus. The podcasting giant took to Instagram Wednesday to announce his diagnosis, saying he got tested after feeling run down Saturday. He says he took a number of medicines, including the anti-parasitic drug ivermectin, which the FDA has recommended against taking. A St. Louis judge is rejecting a bid by the Los Angeles Rams and the NFL to move next year's trial over the team's 2016 move out of St. Louis. St. Louis Circuit Court Judge Christopher McGraw said there's no evidence that possible city jurors have an inherent bias. A lawsuit filed in 2017 claims the NFL violated its own relocation rules by allowing the Rams to leave St. Louis. A trial date is now set for January 2022. Southland weather from KFI, partly cloudy today. Low to mid-70s at the beaches, high 70s in Metro LA, mid-80s in the Valley, and pushing 90 in the Inland Empire. It's 67 degrees in Anaheim, 81 in Palm Springs, 62 degrees in Simi Valley. We lead local from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. I'm Johnny D'Agostini.
In Santa Monica, this is on the 10 westbound at Cloverfield. We have a crash and emergency crews blocking the off-ramp right there. Your drive is bunching up as you approach. In Fountain Valley, there's a full freeway closure, 405 northbound from Magnolia to Beach Boulevard. All lanes are going to be shut down for road work until 5. Bloomington, this is on the 10 eastbound at Cedar. We have a crash that has all lanes temporarily blocked right now. Watch for slowing from Sierra. KFI in the Sky helps get you there faster. I'm Brian Vance.
Contractor license 1047781.
In the air conditioner marathon, you run till you drop. You can't fix it by just unplugging it and plugging it in again. Your AC is working its heart out for you. Your AC needs some TLC, tender love and care. It needs a ghetto rejuvenation. Rejuvenation. We're going to bring that air conditioner back to life. Ghetto will bring 6 critical systems back to factory specs and wash those outside coals the right way, not the easy way. Your home will feel cooler, but your AC will be working a lot less hard and using a lot less energy. It only costs $129. What only costs $129? Rejuvenation. Rejuvenation. If your rejuvenated system breaks down before the end of the year, I'm going to give you $500 off a new 5-star system. Ghetto. QE-TTL. We'll keep you cool, but it's hard to spell.
IQ Air wants to give you the cleanest air possible, and the affordable Autumn series does just that.
The Autumn Desk is a revolutionary air purifier that transforms your workspace into personal clean air zones.
Unlike other air filtration systems that may take hours to purify the air, the Autumn Desk begins working immediately.
Put it right next to you while you work and create your own personal bubble of ultra-pure air.
This game-changing technology has been proven to remove 99% of all airborne pollutants.
Visit IQAir.com/US to learn more. Give them a call, 800-500-4AIR, 800-500-4247.
I'm ready to get my COVID-19 vaccine, Mom.
Oh, really, baby? I want to be sure they're safe. I'm worried they were developed too quickly.
Hey, I'm way ahead of you. Doctors and pediatricians say it's safe and effective for kids 12 and up. The vaccine is based on technology that's like 20 years old. And there were clinical trials with kids, just like me.
Okay. Since you're such an expert now, you can help make your appointment.
Visit myturn.ca.gov to schedule a vaccine appointment. Brought to you by the California Department of Public Health.
KFI, AM 640. More stimulating talk.
This an empty shell, a lonely cell in which an empty heart must dwell. What kind of lips are these that lied with every kiss? whispered empty words of love that left me alone like this. Why can't I fall in love like any other man? And maybe then I'll know what kind of fool I am.
You're hearing Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie, live from somewhere deep below the earth on Premier Networks.
We're going to take calls with Lynn McTaggart next hour as we talk about intention and intention experiments. We'll come back with her in a moment and talk more with her on how she got involved in intention experiments in the first place. ParanormalDate.com keeps cruising along. 418 people shy now of 116,000 signed-up members. Free to sign up. Give it a try at ParanormalDate.com.
Well, you know, ParanormalDate.com, now that's good for everybody, but sometimes you want to meet that someone who's a bit more mature. And if that's the case, we've also created ParanormalDate.com/seniors just for you. So you can sign up free and you can meet that special person. These are people that think like you do. ParanormalDate.com and ParanormalDate.com/seniors.
Thank you, Tom. And again, it's ParanormalDate.com. That's the website to go to for most of you, or ParanormalDate.com/seniors, as Tom just said. Again, let's talk about your immune system and what you can do to build it up.
HealthyLooking.com and Dr. Alan Millay bring 4 decades of experience in natural products for the exclusive stem cell wellness kit that works with your body's stem cells to assist your immune system. Here's Dr. Millay with more.
Whether it's physical activity, obesity, diet, smoking, low on hormones, stress, sleep disorders, or your age, can be supported by reducing inflammation and aiding the body to heal itself appropriately. A stem cell is a cell waiting to be told what it needs to be. If there is inflammation, that inflammation needs to be stopped. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, kidney disease, various types of cancer, depression, Alzheimer's disease, autoimmune disorders, osteoporosis, even fatty liver are chronic signs of inflammation and can be aided by supporting the body's ability to protect those cells that it needs. And that is the purpose of ImmuStem and AdaptoStem together, supporting the body to be the best it can be.
Dr. Millay, how will I feel after taking AdaptoStem and ImmuStem?
The ImmuStem is going to have an immediate effect, but I guarantee you that your immune system is starting to function better after 24 hours. You put AdaptoStem along with it, you will feel it in 30 minutes.
Order now at HealthyLooking.com. The Stem Cell Wellness Kit from Dr. Millay protects your body's stem cells and will make you feel better faster. The Stem Cell Wellness Kit with AdaptoStem and ImmuStem and your free gift Relaxol is only available at HealthyLooking.com or toll free at 800-563-3980. That's 800-563-3980. Don't forget to enter promo code GEORGE for free shipping. George's Stem Cell Wellness Kit at HealthyLooking.com. That's HealthyLooking.com.
You see it at the pump, the grocery store, and construction costs. Another month of the highest inflation since 2008. Another month where that paper money you're carrying around is worth less. What is your plan to protect your savings? You have homeowners insurance in case of a fire. What insurance do you have in place if inflation sets in further and pushes prices even higher? Consider gold and silver from Birch Gold Group. If you haven't reached out to Birch Gold to diversify your IRA or 401k into a precious metals IRA, do it today. Text COAST to 989898 and get a free info kit on protecting your savings with gold. They have an A+ rating with a BBB, countless 5-star reviews, thousands of happy customers. Talk to them. Have them help you safeguard your retirement savings. Text COAST to 989898 to claim your free, no obligation info kit on holding gold and silver in a tax-sheltered account. Again, text COAST to 989898 to take the first step in protecting your savings today.
At 45 years old, I was in so much physical pain. I was truly dreading getting any older. I had weak bones, achy joints, weight that wouldn't go away, almost no energy, and constant brutal headaches. I was falling apart physically and mentally. I searched desperately for alternatives to the pain management traditional doctors offered. I tried alternative medicines with no positive results. Then I heard Dr. Joel Wallach on Coast to Coast with George Norrie and decided to give his unique recommendation 90 days. It took less than a month to feel results, and I've lost 95 pounds. I'm off all pain medications and pharmaceuticals. Best of all, the pain is gone. I look forward to my future. This is Rebecca Kozak, and if pain has you dreading your future, don't suffer through another day. Visit criticalhealthnews.com. Sign up to receive the newsletter, Dr. Wallach's 10 Bad Foods, and tons of invaluable nutritional advice. Call 855-949-RADIO to speak to an experienced nutritional consultant. That's 855-949-7234 and criticalhealthnews.com.
Welcome back to Coast. George Norrie with you, along with Lynn McTaggart. A couple of her books include The Power of Eight, and of course her first major book, The Field, The Quest for the Science Force, Secret Force of the Universe. Her websites are linked up at coasttocoastam.com. Lynn, you were getting right into how you got into all of this. I'll let you finish that up.
Okay, well, as I say, after I finished writing The Field, I had a lot of unfinished business in my own head. You know, there was a lot of tantalizing evidence that consciousness is an actual something with the capacity to change physical matter. So, you know, I'm a journalist by training, an investigative reporter.
Yep.
And so I wanted to find out exactly how far we can take this. You know, what are we talking about? Are we talking about a very subtle effect, like, you know, shifting a quantum particle? Or are we talking about curing cancer with our thoughts? And I also was very intrigued by the whole idea of more than one. You know, there had been the transcendental meditation studies showing that if there's a critical mass of meditators, then the crime rate goes down. So I wanted to see, well, what happens if we actually intend to do that? And we've run 39 experiments now, and 35 of them have shown measurable, positive, mostly significant effects. So we're getting a better track record than most pharmaceutical drugs out there with their drug trials.
Good. So were you surprised at the success rate?
Yeah, I was shocked because I wasn't really sure this was going to work. You know, I was taking a big punt, and I wrote the book, The Intention Experiment, about the science of intention, but it was also an invitation for my readers to come onto my website every so often and send an intention to some, you know, target. And we started out very, very small with trying to shift, you know, the subtle properties of a leaf, the light emissions, and then we tried to make plants grow faster. And we did a lot of experiments with water, and then I got tired of all of that, and I said, no, let's do something huge. And each time I was working with different scientists. So I've worked with the University of Arizona, Penn State University, University of California, then some universities in Europe and Russia, because I wanted to use prestigious scientists around the world working in consciousness research, but different ones, so we couldn't be, you know, accused of bias. So, yeah, I was surprised. I really didn't think it was going to work. Or I thought it was going to have a little subtle effect. I didn't think we were going to lower violence by 43%, as we did in St. Louis, or have Arabs and Israelis hugging each other, essentially, after one in an intention for Jerusalem.
And I'm in St. Louis right now, by the way, Lynn.
Really? Well, we focused on one of the most violent parts of St. Louis.
Yep.
And we, you know, looking at the police data, and as I say, working with scientists who were studying the data before and after, in just the neighborhood we focused on, it went down 43%, whereas it continued to go up everywhere else around there in St. Louis.
Have you found if you stop the intention, you do it and it works, but then you stop it, do things go back to the way they were?
Well, we've never tried that before. That's an interesting one. You know, these are little short intentions. With the big peace intention experiments, we do them on the successive days. So we've run them for 7 days, 8 days, 6 days, and even 1 day, and had an effect. But each day is only 10 minutes. It's the same thing with the Power of 8 groups, the small groups. When we're doing intention for a member of the group, it's only 10 minutes. So it doesn't take long. It doesn't seem to have an effect. And I've worked with thousands of small groups, and the small groups, have recorded miracle after miracle of people reversing cancer or, as I say, getting up out of their wheelchair, or somebody who is supposed to go have an operation for a knee replacement, being able to do a deep squat afterward. So it doesn't seem to take long. I've never tried to sort of do it for 5 minutes and then stop, but it's an interesting idea.
Yeah, that would be intriguing.
Here's the kicker. I talked about space. It works over space. And of course, all of these intention experiments, George, are focused on a distant target, and most of them are involved with people scattered around the globe, 1,000 points of light. So people are focusing on it through their computer. Nevertheless, they're having an effect. We're having an effect on the target. So that's been really interesting, but it's also worked across time. And that's the really weird one that we've been kicking around most recently. I've been getting involved a lot in what I call time travel intention.
And some scientists are even saying that sequential time actually doesn't exist.
Oh, yeah. All the big quantum physicists, like, Carlo Rovelli and a lot of those type of people, will say, no, there is no such thing as sequential time as we understand it, that we create that, essentially. There's something about our brains, actually, in this case, that create a sense of sequential time, but it doesn't really exist. The more truer idea about time is one big smeared out now. And they saw that. There was an incredible study recently showing that the brain can't distinguish between recall of past events and imagination of the future. It's all the same to the brain. And when you start looking into what happens with time, with people, my husband, Brian Hubbard, who's written a book called The Untrue Story of You, said once that time is an energy, and it's not a dimension. And that is so true when you look at what happens with intention, that you can not only heal what happens today, but heal what happened yesterday. And that is mind-boggling to most of us. We can't really get our heads around that. It violates everything we think about. Life is one big forward-moving arrow. But it's true, and I've seen it many, many times with the work that I'm doing.
Do you think that there is some divine intervention into some of this?
That's a really interesting question, George, because many of the people in my Power of 8 groups talk about all kinds of strange things that happen during the time they're in the group. First of all, we know from brainwave studies that certain parts of the brain turn way down when they're doing this, and that they describe situations that are more like a mystical state. And certainly the studies we've done on Power of 8 groups show people are in a state of ecstatic oneness. But they've also described numerous times things like light beings sitting behind their chair. When it's been a Power of 8 group in person, somebody said there were light beings behind each of us, and they were the magnifiers through us, and they were working through us. Other people talk about light. A lot of people in these groups have similar visions together, like they're one big hyper mind. Maybe they're all imagining light coming into somebody they're trying to heal, or their spine. I remember one vision, they all had one of a spine coming out that they were trying to focus on with a woman with back problems, and that the light, the spine being infused with light. I get all kinds of things like that, angels and people who have passed coming forward in their visions while they're doing these Power of 8 groups. So it very well could be. Who's to say? But certainly I see miracles all the time. And I was a complete doubting Thomas about all of this. I did not believe, as I said, I was very skeptical it was going to work when we started the intention experiments. And even more skeptical about Power of 8 groups when I just did it on a whim, put people in a group of 8 in a workshop. And we then started getting these incredible outcomes after just 10 minutes with people who had never met each other before. And yet we're having these amazing effects. And I've seen them, I see these effects when people are meeting virtually in my courses. I put people into groups in my intention courses, and people are still having these amazing effects. So they don't even have to be in the same room together. They could be meeting virtually on Zoom. So there's an argument for some sort of divine intervention, that's for sure, because, you know, I see miracles over and over and over again.
This time travel that you're involved with, I mean, is it conceivable that people can travel into time, and this is controversial, and change past events?
Well, it's certainly been the case of the work that I've been doing. First of all, I should say there's a very robust body of evidence that showing that we can affect the past. There was this brilliant study done by an Israeli professor who wanted to try to debunk alternative medicine. And so he did a study of, and I'm sure I've talked about this before on this show, he did a study of two groups of patients, all of whom had sepsis, which is, life-threatening blood infection. And one group got standard medicine, the other group got standard medicine plus prayer. And afterwards, when he collated it all, he found the group that got prayer was better in every regard. They got out of the hospital faster, they were, had fewer side effects, et cetera, better survival rate, et cetera. But the most interesting part of the study is that the prayer was carried out in the year 2000. The patients were in the hospital from the year 1992 to 94, 6 to 8 years earlier. And what he had done is just had the randomized prayer was done on patient records, and yet those guys had been better. When he looked back at the records, they were better in every regard. So he published it in the Lancet, and that was universally thought we can go back to and change the past. But there's loads of studies about time travel, remote viewing. The PAIR group in Princeton did tons of research where they would have a pair of people, a remote viewer, and then a traveling partner. And the remote viewer, the traveling partner would get an envelope and have to go to some sort of location written inside, which was unknown to the remote viewer. And the remote viewer would have to describe and draw where his partner was going before he even took the envelope, sometimes hours before.
Wow.
And there are breathtaking descriptions of accuracy. Even one guy even saw his traveling partner playing with puppies, and the traveling partner had taken a detour before he got to the place and went to a friend's house and saw the puppies, was playing with them, and decided to take one. So it was that kind of incredible accuracy, but also things affecting past. So even research by Dean Radin showing that when it's a couple of step process of a study he was doing, he showed that the time it took to do the second thing influenced the time it took to do the first thing. I'll say it again. The time to do the second thing influenced the time it took to do the first thing. So that and a lot of other stuff is suggesting that we don't change the past. The future changes the present as it unfolds. Totally mind-warping stuff, but definitely the case in my intention experiments, because I bring people back to a past event, a physical event, when they first got ill, or usually a trauma, a teacher telling them they were stupid and humiliating them, something going on, even really terrible instances of abuse. And the key element here is not to change what happened. What I tend to do is change the intention around it. So the person takes back their power, whether they were a little kid, whether they were somebody sick as an adult, or whatever. And that changes things. Because if you go back to the idea that time is an energy, it's an ever-present thing that's here, now, you can change that by changing your attitude, your perception, your response to it. And that's really what we're changing. And it's powerful. I've even seen a woman who had vitiligo, where the body's lost pigmenting, go back to the moment she got an infection that actually kicked it off. And by changing that seed moment, she started repigmenting right there in the workshop.
That's amazing.
Extraordinary.
It really is. But if you look into the future with intention, and let's say something happens, you may be able to save yourself a lot of grief by doing that.
Well, this is it. I mean, the other thing we do is travel into the future but I use the group to do an intention for someone. I mean, there's been some really interesting stuff done in Japan where they've demonstrated that when you do something altruistic about plotting out somebody else's future, you're more likely to have a better future, too.
Let's talk about those groups, Lynn, when we come back, and then we'll take phone calls with you in a moment.
Find out more about tonight's guest. Log on to coasttocoastam.com.
I have a sign in my office. Is Diet Pepsi okay? And the answer is Monopoly money okay?
Bill Handel, mornings from 6 to 10 on KFI.
Hey, it's Dean Sharp. The year was 1903, and two young Boston architects, Charles and Henry Green, made history right here in Southern California by designing a new style of home that would come to be known as the California Craftsman. One of the very first examples was the Camp House near Pasadena, a home whose restoration 117 years later was entrusted to yours truly. This historic green and green was entrusted to me, and I trust every last inch of it to Benjamin Moore Paint. For generations, Benjamin Moore Regal Select has been the paint that the most passionate architects, builders, painters, and homeowners have trusted their most precious spaces to. Visit your local Benjamin Moore retailer and learn for yourself why Regal Select is the brand that painters know best from the company that knows paint best, Benjamin Moore. To find your local independently owned and operated Benjamin Moore retailer, go to benjaminmoore.com. That's benjaminmoore.com.
You must be tired of unclogging drains for 99 bucks.
No, ma'am. Lots of homeowners like you calling about hot water heaters lately.
I bet you smell good plumbers get a pretty penny for diagnosing these things.
Didn't they tell you? The house call is free for residential homeowners with tank-type water heaters.
No way! Stinky's Rooter charged us buku bucks to diagnose our last water heater.
I know. A lot of clients have told me that.
And if I remember right, their guarantee only covers the first year.
Yeah, they use that as the industry standard, but the Mike Diamond standard covers the whole thing. If the hot water heater leaks 5 years and 11 months down the road, we'll install a new one for free, including labor.
That's crazy talk.
It may be crazy, but it's true.
This is Mike Diamond, and I guarantee my plumber will show up on time and smell good, or your house call is free.
Have a smell-good plumber diagnose your hot water heater for free. Call 1-800-446-MIKE, or check out the hot water heaters page at MikeDiamond.com. Contractor license number 399170.
Not just stimulating talk, it's more. If we don't love you,
KFI and KOST HD2, Los Angeles, Orange County. It's time for your morning wake-up call. Here's Layla Mohammed.
Good Thursday morning to you. This is your wake-up call for September 2nd. I'm Layla Mohammed, in for Jennifer Jones-Lee. She's enjoying a couple of days off. Oh, I like this song. Yes, I'm feeling fancy this morning. This is Kfi Am 640, live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. So, challenging COVID-19 restrictions, Governor Newsom has been warned by the OC Board of Education to give up his emergency powers or else. Plus, flooding in the Northeast. Have you seen the images coming out of New York and New Jersey? I mean, literally water just pouring from the subways. At least 8 people have died in flooded parts of New York and New Jersey as the remnants of Hurricane Ida dumped heavy rain over the Northeast. And Operation Soccer Balls. Several international agencies and officials are working to get members of the Afghanistan women's national soccer team out of the country. So those are some of the big stories we'll dive into. Also, coming up shortly at 5:05, a big story with some developments overnight. Texas now has one of the strictest abortion bans in the country. Now, President Biden and Vice President Harris have weighed in on the new law. We're going to check in with ABC's Karen Travers with the latest on that. But right now, let's start with some of the stories coming out of the KFI 24-hour newsroom. The OC Board of Education has threatened to sue Governor Newsom again if he does not relinquish emergency powers from COVID-19.
The board gave the governor till the end of next week. Board Vice President Dr. Ken Williams says the state constitution says the governor must drop emergency powers at the earliest possible moment.
Unfortunately, the state of emergency has been going on for a whole year and a half.
He says Newsom's COVID-19 mandates are ruining students' education.
They should have options to wear masks if parents want their children to do that.
The board yesterday approved sending the demand letter. The state Supreme Court has already rejected 2 similar lawsuits filed by the board which attacked Newsom's COVID restrictions. In Orange County, Corbin Carson, KFI News.
LA County Health Director Barbara Ferrer says there's a high number of COVID-19 cases in the LA school district, even with several health measures in place.
A total of 5,207 student cases and 729 staff cases were reported during this nearly 2-week period, with the vast majority in both groups accounted for by LAUSD.
Ferrer says the school district and the health department are working together to limit the spread of the virus among students and staff. She says the most common reasons for school outbreaks have been incorrect mask wearing, not enough physical distancing, and poor ventilation in classrooms. The families of 34 people who died in a dive boat fire near Santa Cruz Island 2 years ago are suing the U.S. Coast Guard. A lawsuit filed in a federal court in Los Angeles yesterday alleges the Coast Guard did not enforce regulations and allowed the dive boat Conception to operate with poor wiring and safety problems that resulted in the deaths of all passengers and 1 crew member. Members of the LA City Council have introduced a motion to make $5 million available for people impacted by the LAPD's failed detonation of illegal fireworks in South LA. Councilman Curran Price says the explosion happened at the end of June, and some people are still not able to go home.
I think we got to do much, much more. Given the infliction that has been felt throughout the neighborhoods, more funding for assistance is needed to help make the victims whole.
His motion says some of the money to help those families should be taken from the LAPD's budget. LA County Fire Chief Daryl Osby says SoCal is headed for a rough fire season.
Chief Osby says fire activity usually starts north and makes its way down south.
In Northern California, it's proven to be very challenging for firefighters in the state of California with the extreme fire behavior that they're experiencing. And just know that we're next.
Super Scooper airplanes from Canada are now in service to help spread lots of water over upcoming fires. The chief is telling people with drones to stay out of firefighters' way.
Throughout the state of California, we have to down aircraft because we have drones flying around the perimeter of the fires.
Blake Trolley, KFI News.
Now, fire officials say they hope calmer winds will help them stop the progress of that wildfire that's moving towards South Lake Tahoe in Northern California. Gusty winds over the last few days have pushed the fire east through the Sierra Nevada, forcing tens of thousands of people to leave the area. The forecast for today is for the winds to drop. So that's some good news for firefighters. The fire has burned more than 200,000 acres. It's 23% surrounded. Now, when we come back, we're talking with ABC's Karen Travers about the White House's response to the Texas abortion ban. But right now, How about we take a look at your drive out there? If we have a crash in Sherman Oaks on the 101, good morning, Nick.
Good morning, Layla. Checking out the drive on the southbound side of the 101 as you come away from the 405, actually making your way a little bit closer to Van Nuys Boulevard. Looks like somebody fell asleep behind the wheel, and that is now a wreck. A couple of cars involved. You're definitely seeing a rough go of it for the drive on the southbound side of the 101 from before the 405. Really heavy for you first thing this morning. Got an update on this or anything else slowing you down? Pound 250 on your cell phone. Keyword is KFI traffic. Checking your drive on the westbound side of the 91 through Corona. As per usual, starting to see some delays here and there, but not too bad, at least for the moment. Westbound 91 is seeing a slowdown right around Main Street, just past the 15, and then delays for you further westbound along the 91 as you get a little bit closer to Green River. Definitely heavy for you as Caltrans crews are wrapping up shop for the drive out of the Ontario area through Chino on the westbound side of the 60, heading toward Ramona Avenue. Also looks like you may have a crash in lanes of that construction project, so definitely seeing a slow-going drive. KFI in the Sky helps get you there faster. I'm Nick Poliokini.
All right, thank you, Nick. At 5:05 on your wake-up call, 5:06, we say hello to ABC's Karen Travers. Hey, Karen.
Good morning.
Good morning. You know, a lot happened overnight, and I know we're going to dive in a little deeper to the fine print in the law when we talk with your colleague Jim Ryan coming up. But first of all, set the stage for us. So the president weighed in on this Texas abortion law, and what did he say?
Yeah, the president yesterday in a statement said that the Texas abortion law was extreme. He said it blatantly violates the constitutional right established under Roe v. Wade. And he said that his administration will protect and defend that right. But it was notable in that statement that the president did not say specifically what his administration will do to protect and defend that right. And we heard yesterday from Press Secretary Jen Psaki, because there were a lot of questions about this yesterday, what the administration is doing, what can the administration do. She said several times that the president is calling for Congress to codify Roe v. Wade, essentially set up law that protects that right that was established in that landmark abortion case before the Supreme Court. But I asked her specifically, what is the administration doing to push Democrats in Congress, to work with Democrats in Congress? Like, what is happening, if there's anything happening on this right now? And she couldn't say. And I think because right now this wasn't the big priority for the administration. They've got a lot of legislative things on their plate, infrastructure, of course, being the big one, and voting rights being the other big one that they're having trouble with. So this now is something that the White House is going to get a lot of questions about, of what Congress can do and what it should be doing and how quickly they can do some action.
Yeah, you touched on that because the Supreme Court has now weighed in. That's the latest development.